What's going on everyone, 2 a.m. here, and this is my simple and consistent way to create hands for games and or anime characters. It's low to mid poly, rig friendly, but the main advantage is that it's a very clean and easy method to remember so that you can repeat it and you don't have to do random stuff every time you want to try to make a hand. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, I'm just going to assume that you know the basics of Blender. I will try to help out by showing the hotkeys that I use the most, but I'm also going to try to do it a bit fast. So let's not delete the default cube. Let's spare him today. Tab over into edit mode, press Ctrl R. This will create a loop cut. Let's mouse wheel up twice, then left click, and then right click to confirm it. And let's do the same for the front. Ctrl R, mouse wheel up twice so that it adds 2 more cuts. Left click, right click, and we should have a 4x4 right here. Now let's do one more Ctrl R along the top and press A. Select all. Now let's scale this down the x-axis, so SX. Make it about that size. Grab all of this, move it up. Alt Z to toggle on my X-ray. Select all of these at the bottom. Then do E and Z to extrude it downwards, and we'll create one more row that's about the same size as the other ones that we have. Now it's a 4x5. Now I'm gonna select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, delete, and select faces on the delete menu. And while we're still here in edit mode, Shift A, add a circle. And here, let's change the vertices to 6 here in the bottom add circle menu. Bring this up, and as you can see, it's a hexagon now. So let's scale it down and put it above that hole we made. Should be slightly smaller than the hole. Now let's extrude this along the z-axis, about the length of a finger. And let's Control R loop cut this twice and move it up a little bit. Now for both of these loop cuts that we just made, they're the segments of the fingers, but we need supporting geometry so that when we rig it, it'll be all good. So Alt left click rather. Then let's do bevel. Drag that until it's fully out, change segments to 2, and let's do it for the other one. Alt left click. Pull this, segments to 2, and we're good for that part. We're gonna do one more loop cut, Control R up here. Should be around here, because this is where the fingernail will be. Let's just double up on that with bevel. We don't need to change segments to 2 for this one. Now let's make a couple of changes. Alt left click this whole line. GY, move it off to the side. I'll left click that, move it off to the side. And here, I want to select these two and press F twice to close it off. And in the side view, let's turn on X-ray with Alt Z. Move these up so that it looks more like a finger. And we can take the middle loops of the middle segments, of the finger segments, scale them along x-axis, move them up along x-axis to create those ridges in the fingers. So SX, GX, align it, and you got something like that. And at this point we can tab back into object mode, shade smooth, and also add our subdivision modifier. Subdivision surface, we don't have to play around with the numbers. Now, one very important thing, let's go back into edit mode. We turn on face orientation, you can see that they're different, and that's a problem. We want them all to be blue, and how you want to do that is mesh, normals, recalculate outside. We can add that to our quick favorites by right-clicking it if you want. So that way I can press A, Q, recalculate outside, and everything should be good. You don't even have to turn on face orientation, it just shows you. Now let's create some fingernails. To do this, we have to select these 4 1, 2, 3, 4. So at the front and the top. We're going to grab it, move it down along the x-axis, and we're going to extrude it back up along the same axis. Move it a little forward. Then if you want the fingernails to be longer, let's select these four now at the top, at the tip of the fingernail, and extrude those out. And scale it down sideways. Okay, that looks a little weird, but later we'll be fixing it. And once we're done with that, we can sculpt this finger. And we do the sculpting now so that when we duplicate it, we don't have to sculpt again. So the best tool for this is Inflate. Actually, strength at 0.500 is fine. We just need to make it wider along the base and more narrow along the top. So you can always look at your own finger if you want a reference, a free reference. Okay, I think that should be good for now. Just need a little more here. And that's generally the shape that you want. Just make sure it's balanced. Now back in edit mode, we need to make sure that there's space for all the fingers. So this will be a balancing act of scaling the finger down and also making some space here on the palm. And we can do that by selecting these and moving them out a bit. Do that by row, and we can rotate just a tiny amount. Let's do that for each part, each row that we have here. We want to make this a little longer. Those are decent proportions. Let's duplicate it now. And let's adjust the finger length while we're here. So middle finger is longer, of course. Control L is useful here because it selects all of the linked vertices. And we can keep duplicating. So the ring finger can pretty much be the same size. So there's a little mistake here too. So my x-ray wasn't on for that. Then the pinky will be relatively smaller than the other one. So you can fully scale it down on all dimensions. And you can even shorten it further. Make it a little more narrow. Also rotate it a bit here. Let me see. Yeah, it could be this size or even a little bit smaller. That should be fine. Okay, so there you have your fingers. Now the question is, how do you attach these? And it's very simple because we already made that hole earlier. Let's put it right over the hole, put a little gap in between. And here, let me introduce you to, well, you already probably know it, but in Edge menu, there's bridge edge loops. And again, you can add this to your quick favorites. That's what I do to make things faster. Then you alt left click on the edge loop of the end of your finger and the hole that you made earlier. Press Q, bridge edge loops. Or you can also try this one, which is select these four which make a trapezoid, press F to create the face. And then go over to the side, select these two, and then just keep pressing F until it fully closes up. And then just repeat for all the other fingers. So it's just selecting these 6, delete faces, move the finger in place, Alt click, Q bridge edge loops. Let's do that for the rest. Actually, the fingers don't look perfect yet. They still definitely do need some more meat added onto them. But we'll do one more pass with the sculpting after we add the thumb. So for the thumb, in edit mode, we select this specific vertex. Let's delete it. And that should create a hole here with 8 vertices. And so of course, when we shift A and add a new circle, instead of 6, we're going to be using 8 vertices. It'll be looking like a stop sign. Let's actually rotate this at 22.5 from the top. Scale it down, and just like the first finger we made, we'll extrude it. As you can see, it's not shaded smooth yet. We can do that in a second. In object mode, shade smooth, back to edit mode. And the thumb only has one division of segments, unlike the other fingers where they have 3 segments, so there's 2 divisions. So here we can do our bevel thing. And add a segment there so that it creates 3 loops. Do the thing again where we scale this down by the x-axis, bring it up a little. Actually gonna select all of this and move this so it doesn't align with the rest of the structure, or some awkward things could happen. Let's also create a loop for the thumbnail and bevel that out. We don't need to create a 3rd loop here. 2 is fine. So again, we alt left click this area, move that off to the side, and do the same for this. Move it off to the side. We can do the thing again where we select these 2 vertices down here and press F 3 times to close it off. Side view with X-ray on. Move these into place. Create the thumbnail by again selecting these 4. Top, front, and center. Move it down a bit, extrude it back up. Extrude this part. And we can move all of this forward by just a little bit. Okay. And let's not forget, scale these down. There we have our thumb. Let's sculpt it out a bit before we attach it, just like the other stuff. Oop. Okay, so let me show you why you need to do the thing. So as you can see again, whenever you make these new things, it doesn't make it face the right way. Again, it's just A, Q, and you already did this, recalculate outside. Now it's fine. Also affects sculpting mode because if it's not facing the right way, it also inflates and deflates the wrong way. So again, let's flesh it out. Now when we're attaching it, we have to rotate it. -45 Z. This will actually turn it a bit to the left. Then we're gonna select it all again, rotate it again, -45. And if you're facing it from the front, you don't have to put a dimension. That's already where it needs to be. So just like if you look at your thumb right now, it's not laying flat. If you rest it on the table, it is turned a bit to the left like that. So Alt left click the loop on the base of the thumb, Shift Alt left click on the hole in the hand, Q bridge edge loops. And that's kind of a huge edge loop, which we'll need to subdivide. So Control R, divide it once. There you go. Now it's all up to the sculpt tool. For this area, instead of using inflate, I like to use grab. Grab it out. But for the rest, I pretty much default to inflate. And let's see, you have to flesh out the top of the hand, obviously. Some around the knuckles, some around the base of the wrist, on top of the thumb as well. For the bottom of the hand, you definitely have to flesh out this part, which is the base of the thumb. That's a very fleshy part of the hand. You can turn up the strength if you want. But you know, if you are new to sculpting, just pick a low strength and do it slowly. Take your time with it and constantly check your hand or your references to see where you have to add more stuff. If you want, we can also add the base of the wrist now. So an X-ray, let's select all of these, extrude it downwards along Z, and we can even select these three vertices and delete them, so it opens up for the arm. Definitely adjust this later, but why not do some now? Also scale it down a bit. And as mentioned, we have to adjust the fingers a little bit because the pinky is looking a little skinny. Also, they look a little skinny here from this angle, yeah. So these need to be inflated a little. Just add some flesh so that it goes nicely when it joins with the palm. Here too, on the other side of the palm, needs to be inflated. Of course, you can take as little or as long on this portion that you want until you are satisfied with your hand. I don't know how much detail your hands need to have, so that's why you may or may not need to spend more or less time on this. But one bonus thing I want to show you before we end this off is I want to create more geometry so that our fingernails are not so flat on the finger like this. Because in real life, your fingernails actually curve around a little bit. We take the knife tool. Let's go to the top of our first finger, all the way down the middle. And once we reach this face in the middle of this face, click, and then go to this corner here, click, and back, and same thing to go back to the top of the middle finger. So the middle of the face, then up to the top. And once that's done, press enter to confirm these changes and do the same for the next two fingers. And this is just a rough job, but hopefully you get the point. Let's join these two with a cut here. And this keeps everything with quads. And we also have to do it for the bottom side. So we can continue where we left off. and it's the same thing here at the bottom. Also creates extra geometry in these places that it lands on, which you may or may not need. I know for the top you can use it to flesh out some knuckles if you want. Let's join those two and let's go along the sides so that it joins to these parts as well. Just to keep things nice and proper. Wait, is it already? No, it's not, so let's do that. Okay, good. Now what we can do is make the fingernails go a little more curved around the finger. So that's likely gonna be just these two. Hold on. Yeah, something like that. And you can even take these middle ones, these three middle ones, and move them up a little. That way, that's a little extreme. Doesn't have to go down that far, but you get the point. If you're wondering how I do it for the thumb, I actually just get lazy. And I settle for a triangle here because I don't want to go all the way around, but you can probably figure out a more elegant solution if you really wanted to. So one last thing you can play around with is the creasing. So if you select the vertices of the nails itself, the outer nail, you want to keep it simple, you can just select these three, which are where the fingernail dips. Shift E. Drag it to the right. It creates that kind of extra detail there. Do it for the thumb as well. But yeah, you can play around with that if you want as well. But it looks like that'll be the end of this tutorial. Next will be the feet. I'll be making a full model with a full tutorial, so stay tuned if you want to learn more. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.